Just my luck. Spots on my chin for the first day of the new year.
He counts his spots in front of the mirror. He keeps a chart.
A spot chart?
Yes, well, sort of, a record. Yeah. And he measures his ears with his geometry set to see how far they're sticking out this week.
He also measures other things as well, doesn't he?
He does measure other things that are below the belt, right, yes. Right.
However...
There's a new girl in our class. She sits next to me in geography. She's all right. Her name's Pandora, but she likes to be called Box. Don't ask me why.
Adrian Mole was the hugest thing when I was younger. Within the society that I was in, every kid that I knew was reading it. And, you know, as I've grown up, I found that every single person I've ever met has read it as well. And they all had exactly the same reaction, which was the same reaction that I had, which was, oh my God, I'm Adrian Mole. When you were reading it, you just kind of went, that's me. I think I'm better than anybody else here. I have a destiny that is outside this estate. I see through grown-ups for what they are.
She was born in 1946. She left school at 15, she married, had 3 kids. She was authentic. There's something she said that always struck me. She said, I am working class. No matter how many Prada handbags I have, I shall never forget what it was to be poor. And she was poor.
I was given a glass of bull's blood wine and felt dead sensual. I talked brilliantly and with consummate wit for an hour, but then my mother told me to leave the table, saying, one sniff of the barmaid's apron and his mouth runs away with him. I mean, that's the perfect description of getting drunk for the first time. And I totally ripped her off in everything that I did, in How to Be a Woman when I wanted to write a book about feminism. You know, for ages I thought I could only write a book about feminism if I sit at my writing desk and I say all the long words and I do all the research and all this kind of stuff. And it was when I realised that I had to tell the story from the point of view of a dickish teenage girl who didn't feel at home on a council estate and thought she was better than anybody else, that book just wrote itself. And that the voice of me in How to Be a Woman it's just Adrian Mole with tits. That's what that book is.
One day I was sitting with one of my daughters watching the telly and there was Mole. And the news item was the new cabinet, Thatcher's new cabinet. And there was John Major. I thought, I can't be... I laughed and said, that is Mole. To me, Adrian Mole ended up running the country.
I have lived under Tory rule for most of my life. But as dawn breaks on May the 1st, I predict that New Labour will scrape in with a tiny majority. Possibly 3.
The Cappuccino Years is about Mole at 30 and a half. New Labour have just come to power. And the Cappuccino Years because it's a metaphor for New Labour. An awful lot of froth and very little coffee.
She's also rather good on sex.
You're so beautiful!
So in Pandora, his Helen of Troy, who inspired a million masturbation fantasies and ends up as a Blair babe. Those kind of touches are really very, very delicate and very, people will look back, I think, and see a kind of historical register there, or a social historical register.
No, Tony Blair is dedicated to the principle of women's rights and to the representation of women in top jobs, both in and out of politics.
Come on, you know perfectly well it's going to be jobs for the boys as usual.
Not if I can help it, Jeremy.
That's the most sexually arousing thing I've seen on television since Barbara Windsor lost her bra in Carry On Camping.
One of the things that annoys me is that people will talk about sort of the classic British novels of the 1980s and people will go, it was Martin Amis, it was money, that was what summed up sort of Britain, that's the classic British novel. But I think the classic British novel of the 1980s was written by a single mum from the Midlands who didn't go to university. It is Adrian Mole. That is everything that you need to know about Britain at that time.